Another topic that you will definitely need to know for the exam is windows in Dataflow. In the context of streaming data, you might wonder, how do you chunk or group elements for analysis or some other operation when you have a constant stream of these elements? Windows are a method to manage and group data together over time. There are three types of windows in Dataflow: tumbling windows, also known as fixed windows, hopping windows, also known as sliding windows, and session-based windows. We'll be going over each one of these in the following slides. With tumbling windows, also known as fixed windows, data is divided into distinct, non-overlapping intervals of time. Each window is a fixed size and does not overlap with other windows. In this example, we have a stream of data that is divided into 30-minute tumbling windows. The windows are non-overlapping and they are sequential. The first window starts at 12 o'clock and it ends at 12:30. The second window starts at 12:30 and it ends at 1 o'clock. The third window starts at 1 o'clock and it ends at 1:30. Each window has a fixed duration, a consistent predefined length. Windows are non-overlapping, ensuring that data is not repeated across the windows, and they are sequential, meaning that windows follow one after the other in a continuous sequence. Tumbling windows are often used for data analysis, such as calculating the average or maximum value of a data stream over a period of time. In this case, it would be 30 minutes. Keep in mind, though, that 30 minutes is just what I've chosen for this example, but you can set the duration of the windows to something else. Let's shift our focus to hopping windows, also known as sliding windows, within Dataflow. Each window has a fixed duration, again. However, unlike tumbling windows, hopping windows overlap. They hop forward at regular intervals. These intervals are called hops. So then that creates a new window that includes some of the previous window, and that overlap depends on the size of the hop. For example, here is a slight modification of the previous example I gave of tumbling windows. Here, each window is 30 minutes in duration again, but a new window is created every 5 minutes. The first window is created at 12:30 and it contains the data from 12 to 12:30. 5 minutes later, another window is created of the same duration. It contains data from 12:05 to 12:35, and this continues. You can imagine that this could be useful when you need to calculate a metric frequently, but you want the calculation to include a larger window of time. For example, if you're monitoring the stock market, you might calculate average stock price every minute, but have it include the last 10 or 20 minutes of data in your calculation. The key here is frequency and overlap. We set the size of the window and how frequently a new window starts, the hop size. In summary, hopping windows have a fixed duration, they are overlapping, and they have a fixed frequency defined by a hop interval. In Dataflow, we simply define our desired window size and the frequency at which these windows should hop forward. Now let's talk about session-based windows. Session-based windows, instead of having a fixed duration, are defined instead by a gap of natural inactivity in the data. Therefore, they can actually end up being any duration. Let's explore this through a visualization. On the top, we have a timeline of events or new data elements streaming into Dataflow. At some points, they are streaming in more frequently than others. The points where they are streaming in less frequently are visible as the white gaps. If these gaps in data are longer than the gap duration that we have set for our session-based windows, then the next event will start a new session or a new window. So now let's look at a visualization of what the corresponding windows might be like for this data. Because the big white areas are gaps that are longer than the gap duration that we have set, that means that the preceding data point is actually the end of the window. For example, if I set the gap duration to 5 minutes, that means that if I get one event every 4 minutes and 59 seconds over and over again, Dataflow will continue to consider that part of the same session. Once there is a gap with no data for 5 minutes, then Dataflow will start a new session. One example of this that you may be aware of is the definition of a session in Google Analytics. The gap duration in Google Analytics is 30 minutes, meaning that if a user comes to your website, that session, that visit to your website, continues until they have no activity for 30 minutes. In short, session-based windows are dynamic, meaning that their length can vary greatly because they are defined by a natural gap in the data and not by a fixed duration. They are user-centric, meaning that they are determined by the events generated by users in your data. They involve natural groupings of data, and they are defined by a gap duration rather than by a fixed window length. That's all you need to know on windows. This is super important for the exam.